Okay, then. We're gonna move on, right? Let's remind a little bit on what we just did on last Monday. We're talking about investment, right? And we classify investment first. We break it down into two kinds of security: debt security and equity security, if you can recall. After we break it down into debt and equity security, we start with debt security first. When we talk about investment in debt security, it depends on the purpose of your company. If your company wants to hold to maturity, like when the other company issue bonds, and you want to hold it until it matures, we classify that kind of investment as investment in held to maturity securities, and we're going to use amortized cost for accounting treatment. Okay. For the next thing, if you want to hold it for speculative purpose, if you want to hold it for speculate, of course, we call them as a trading securities, and we need to mark to market. If you just hold it without any particular purpose, you treat them as available for sale securities. So that's the end for the debt part, the security part. Of course, for available for sale security, you need to mark to market as well. All right, and the difference between the book value and the market value, you need to display. It depends on the purpose. For trading, go to profit and loss, but for available for sale, you go to OCI. Now turn to the other side, investment in equity security. In terms of equity security, we have no held to maturity type because equity security, no maturity. That's why you have only two things left. All right, you have two things left in terms of trading or available for sale. Both of them you got to mark to market. All right, so if you classify, if you can recall what we did before, try to think. Do we have papers? So we break it down into two parts: investment. You treat them as debt or in equity, right? In terms of debt, you break it down into like held to maturity, TS or AFS. But for equity securities, no held to maturity. But it's time to think about, well, should we treat them as trading or available for sales? It depends on your purpose, right? But if you increase your degree of ownership, go up to like until you got significant influence, you have associate company. But if you increase the ownership until you got the control, you got subsidiary company. Just like when you break it down for debt and equity, for debt, held to maturity, you go to amortized cost. Trading and available for sale, you mark to market. But of course, the difference go to where they belong. TS go to PL, AFS go to OCI. The reason why TS go to PL because it's based on their own operation. Because you want to speculate. Okay, but the difficult part turn to this one that we're going to learn today as well. For equity security, you invest in equity security. For example, the company issue common stock. The common stock is right there for 100 shares. You buy for like 10 shares, which is 10%, very small portion. People are going to ask you, you want to do what? Speculate it or just hold it for a while? For speculated, we treat them as a trading security. You need to mark to market as well. Same thing, just like what you did for debt security. In terms of available for sales, you mark to market as well. And of course, gain or loss report as it's a part of OCI. But now, when you increase the ownership until you got significant influence, which is all about 20% to 50% of the common share that available. So you gain significant influence. Your relationship now turn to be associate company. And you learned before, we have cost method versus equity method for associate company. Today, we're gonna increase our ownership up a little bit, like you got a control, power to control. When you have power to control like this, what you got? You hold more than 50% of ownership now, 50% of common stock, sorry. 6% of common stock available at the moment. Now you can control them. When you can control them, your relationship between you and the investee turn to be parents and subsidiary. You are parent, and the investee called subsidiary. And when this relationship happens like this, you are required to do consolidated financial statement. That's what we're gonna learn today. All right, this is what we did on Monday. Also this one as well, that's what we did on Monday. Equity method, we do some on Monday. Thursday here, we're gonna working on consolidated financial statement. Make sure you understand the logic behind first. All right. Of course, I put everything in the slide right here. The big picture first for debt securities. If you're looking at the debt security, right, we have three kinds of things: held to maturity, trading, and available for sales. Look, for held to maturity, HTM, we follow amortized cost. You learn that with Ajahn Theory, when they issue bond, you calculate effective interest rate, right? Effective interest rate, when you start invest, turn the other side, back when you issue bond, you create liabilities. You issue bond with premium or discount, remember? Now turn your head into the buyer or investor. You invest in that thing. Now you're gonna have investment at cost. For example, the par value is 100. All right. They issue with discount for $10. So it means the bond value now is what? 90. When you invest with 90, right? But once the bond mature, how much you get? 100 at par. So that's why your job is like to adjust your payment, adjust your investment from 90 to 100 across time until it matures. That's what we call amortized cost. On the other hand, if the company issue bond with premium, the bond par value is 100, but they sell at premium, let's say 120. How much is this for the premium? 20. Investment cost today is what? 120, isn't it? But once the bond retire, how much you got? 100. Our job is what? In terms of the buyer or investor, we need to reduce the value of investment from 120 to 100. The way we reduce the investment down, that's what we call amortized cost too. Amortized cost adjusts to what? Interest revenue. If you can recall when you issue bond with the Ajahn Theory, when you amortize bond discount or bond payable, you adjust with what? Interest expense, right? You adjust with interest expense. Now turn your head into investor. You got interest revenue, that's why. You adjust amortized cost against the interest revenue. Okay? So what that's supposed to mean, think about the implication of cash flow. If you invest bond with premium, okay, the bond par value 100, you invest 120. So it means what? Every year you amortize $20 down until the investment hit to 100. Got it? So now the question is, cash received compared to interest revenue, which one is greater? Interest revenue record when they got the coupon. You debit cash, credit, interest revenue based on coupon rate. And you got another entry to do, which is adjust investment to the revenue. Let me show you up there. All right. So let's suppose this is what you got. I try to find the pages. So let's say the par value is 100, but you buy the bond with 120. Once you first buy, you debit investment in bond for 120. You credit cash for 120. All right, let's say bond lasts for 5 years. This is when you first invest in the bond. Okay, every time, let's say the bond pay like 10% interest. So it means what? Every year you got cash and interest revenue, okay, for 10 and 10. But our job to do again is like we need to amortize 120 here to be 100 within 5 years. All right, within 5 years. Let's say we use straight line, don't use EIR. So 20, which is different between these two, should be divided by 5 years. So it means every year you need to amortize with 4. So by amortize, what we did is what? You debit interest, revenue, and credit investment in bond for 4. So at the end of December 31st, let's say year 1, what is the book value of the bond now? 120 minus 4, you got 116. So it means the cost dropped from 120 down to 160. Year 2 you do again, and again, and again, and again, until 5 years. After you finish 5 years, what's happened? Investment in bond gonna drop from 120 to 100. And once you get the bond back, the money back, you debit cash and credit to investment in bond for 100 because you got to get the bond back at par. Well, take a look at this. Interest revenue. Coupon rate is 10. Cash you got is 10. But in the P&L, how much interest revenue report? 10 or not? Only 6. Interest revenue report on PL or financial statement is 6. Cash got 10, revenue got 6. What happened? You got to do something with statement of cash flow. Right? Revenue have only 6, but the money got what? For 10. So money got is greater than revenue report. What happened to the profit? Profits less than cash. Implications of this thing reflect to the cash flow. You can think the other way around. When you invest in the bond that issue with discount, it's going to be the other way. Play that with the number by itself. I just give you some concept here first. So the implication when you invest in the bond with premium or with discount is about the cash you get and the revenue report. Keep this in mind. All right, this is for example when you invest in debt security and we call amortized cost. What if I change my mind? I don't want to do amortized cost because I want to be speculative. It means what? Do we need to do this adjustment? Yes or no? No. You just mark to market. Let's say on December 31st, the bond value changed, let's say to 115. You mark it down, right? Gain or loss in this case. Investment 120, but now worth for 115. You got gain or you got loss? Loss. Realized or unrealized?
Unrealized.
Unrealized. Very simple. All right. Just get the concept as a financial statement user. Okay, just give you an idea on what's going on here. Now let's get back to the second one. Trading security, you learned it from last Monday. Mark to market to PL. Available for sale security, mark to market as well, and put it on OCI. Alright? Quite straightforward. You practiced on the exercise before. Now let's do for equity security. For equity securities here, right? If you hold less than 20% by percentage of ownership, we're going to ask you, do you hold for trading or you hold for available for sales? If you want to speculate, of course, use the same thing for debt security. Fair value, go to PL. Fair value, go to OCI for available for sales investment. But now you increase your ownership up to like 20 to 50%. We're going to say, well, you got associate company, or even you create a joint venture. You do for equity methods. You learn that. When we have equity method, you need to do like profit sharing, right? When dividend, you got reduced investment. You practice that before. But if you hold greater than 50%, now you create relationship between you and the investee. You are the parents. They are your subsidiary. Their financial statement need to be integrated with you. If we say straightforward like that, but the technical term for our accounting people say consolidation. Asset liability of subsidiary belong to the parents in the consolidated. Revenue and expense also belong to the parent in consolidated income statements. All right, and you're going to learn how to be prepared for that. Just a quick moment. So for consolidations here, you're going to have things about, well, Ajahn, what if we don't hold it for 100% of ownership? We hold for 80%. What about 20%? Back in the old time, we call that part as minority interest. But now we change our name. Not minority interest, we call non-controlling interest. I'm going to show you in a bit why we call non-controlling. But again, when we break it down, just like some people asked me from last class, how do we classify which one should be associate, which one should be subsidiary, which one should be trading or local sale? The first rule is by percentage of ownership. But it's not going to be the case. Because sometimes you hold less than 50%, but you can prove like you can control them. Just like I give you an example last time, I hold it for about 48%, but I asked my driver to hold for another 3%. So it means I have nominees. Right? When you have nominees, it's quite obvious, like you can control them, even you hold less than 50%. Or sometimes you can set up like the board of directors, even you hold 30%, but you have a power to set up a board of directors there or set up the management in that company. So it means even though you hold less than 50%, you still got some control. Clear for that? Percentage is just the first tier. If it's past criteria like this, you can identify for sure which one should be associate, which one should be joint venture, which one should be subsidiary. But some company,
Even they hold less than this criteria, but they can show themselves like, well, I hold less than 50, but I still got the control. Or some company, I hold less than 20%, but I still got significant influence. Percentage is just the first criteria. All right, but it's about the proof that you're gonna see on the couple slide later on. What kind of proof or what kind of evidence that can reveal the control or the ownership, like that. This is what I show you from the exercise already. I break it down like, cost and equity method on the right to hand side. For fair value, we use fair value adjustment like that. We show you already via the exercise. This is quite important because sometimes management play with the number by. Don't look at the board just yet. Think about this. If you are managers, when you are managers, you think like, well, the company that I hold at the moment, let's say when I first buy this I treat as investment as available for sale security. All right? Because I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with this investment. When you mark to market, where the gain loss go, PL or OCI, available for sales, OCI. But you know that the stock price is gonna go up of this company. What if you change your mind? I want to move from AFS to TS. What's gonna happen to your financial statement? Profit gonna move from OCI to TS. If the management can play like this, do you think investors like you catch them? No, right? That's why accounting standards try to protect your right by, look, if you want to transfer from trading to available for sales, or even available for sale to trading, on the day you transfer, you got to mark to market first, right? So you transfer with the fair value. So it means what? Gain or loss should be recognized at this stage. You got to suffer first, or you're gonna gain benefit first on that day. So that's why you transfer at fair value. Right here. You transfer at fair value, not at cost of your home. So it means what? You need to mark to market, right? And recognize gain or loss on that day. Otherwise, people are gonna play chickpea like what I said to you before. This is what they want us, they want them to do. Transfer at fair, at the day of transfer. So if you look at all category here, transfer from HCM to AFS or AFS to HCM, everything transfer at fair. So it means what? You can recognize gain or loss at that time. All right? This is what the impact, you can read by yourself. I summarize just like that. Okay? In terms of, in the view of your financial statement user, if you see something wrong with financial statement from one quarter to the next quarter, maybe you can spot, well, something wrong with the investment classification. Why the company gain bump up or jump down, just like that. So you can take a look at that as signs. Okay, now to summarize, you may heard about mark to market. You heard about amortized cost, that for Thai Accounting Standard 105. All right. Now, when you graduate, you're going to see this accounting standard, IFRS number 9. It's going to apply to financial instruments, apply to every financial instruments, account receivable, accounts payable, investment. They are all financial instruments, right? The financial instrument is the instrument that create asset to one person and create liability to another person, right? Create financial asset and financial liabilities whatsoever. Think about the financial instruments now, which is your investment. Your investment in financial instruments. If IFRS number 9 apply, which is in the next year, what's going to happen to the financial statement? Get back to what we just said before. You got mark to market for trading and available for sales. For trading, go to PL. Available for sale, go to OCI. Once IFRS number 9 released and effective, trading and available for sales not going to be the term that we're going to use no more. We're going to use the new technical term, which is what? Well, this investment is fair value to PL. This investment we hold is as a fair value to OCI. Collapse the term trading and available for sales. We call them by the term of the measurements. Alright? So that's why, well, Ajahn, do we have only two things, FV, OCI, FV to PL? No, we do have another one, which is amortized cost. Think about amortized cost. Amortized cost applied to investment in debt security, remember? Right? So now it's time to think about when IFRS number 9 release, what could be investment in debt security? What kind of security can be treated as a debt security? We have two criteria. Look at the above line. The approach like this, we're going to consider the contractuals or the contracts. Do we have, first, do we have a right to collect the contractual cash flow? That's the first criteria. That's what we call business model test. Followed by the second test, which is cash flow characteristic test. So by IFRS number 9, you have to do two tests to identify what method we're going to use. If the business model test say, well, the financial asset, which is your investment, are held to collect the cash flow, I would say yes. After we pass yes, now check the second test, which is cash flow test. Do we have to collect both principal and interest on the principals? If you meet two criteria, that financial asset you need to measure on amortized cost, which is what investment in debt security. Because when you invest in debt, what you got interest and you got principal back. On the other hand, if you invest in equity security, what happened? Do you have a right to collect your principal back? No, until the firm liquidates. Do you have a right to claim on interest? No, you claim on dividend. While they failed for two things, right? They failed the second test. When they failed the second test, what happened? Time to think about, should we treat them as FVPL or FVOCI? Actually, in the term, you should put T on here too. T, fair value to PL. I just typo. FV to PL or FV to OCI. Same thing, don't get confused, like you mark to market and put gain or loss to PL or OCI. That's it. For the big concept first, all right? I don't want to teach you in detail because it's for accounting people. You don't need to be accountants. So just get to know what's going to change. If I teach accounting, so I achieve more than this. All right, just give you the big picture first. So, when IFRS adopt, or IFRS number 9 is adopt, this is what's going to change you. You get to pass two tests to identify what kind of investment that you hold at the moment. Alright? Another accounting standard going to come to you, which is IFRS number 3. Alright? Number 3 coming to your life when you do have business combination. When we got business combination, what that's supposed to mean? You buy the company. Alright, when you buy the company, like you do mergers, right? You do mergers, you do acquisitions, the firm, just like that. So when IFRS number 3 adopt to this transaction, we got 4 steps to follow. First, identify acquirer. Who acquired the firm? Alright, who acquired the firm? Normally, big company acquires small company, isn't it? Like CPR take over Macro. Big company take over the smaller one. After you identify the who's acquirer, sometimes the acquirer can identify from like, just like think about the real life, nothing goes so big for a company. The real life is like when you want to buy something, you go to the market. What you gonna do? I'm a buyer, you are the seller. If I'm the buyer, what I'm going to do? I give you money, you give me products. That's it. Same thing. In terms of acquirer, I acquire you, I give you money, you give me common stock. Is that right? Quite simple. But things will be a little bit more complicated. If I don't give you the money, rather I issue common stock for exchange. Right? We swap the share, we call share swap. When we have share swap, it's going to be hard who acquire who in terms of account. Because sometimes when we do share swap until like the other company can take over my company. That's what we call reverse acquisition. That's going to be a little bit tough. I'm not going to teach that to you guys. I teach undergraduate students 4 years in advanced accounting. That's what we call reverse acquisition. We do share swap until like, at first, company A should be the one who acquired. When swap the share, it's turned out another company turned to be the acquirer. Sometimes people call it like a backdoor listing. Just like that. Okay? Well, first step, identify acquirer. Basically, who pay is the one who acquired. Second, determine when the acquirer can control the firm. Remember when we have degree of ownership from the 10% to 20, 20 to 50, once we more than 50, when we invest more than 20% of the common share, you can control. Now it's time to think about when you control. When you give them the money, or when they transfer all those things to you, all the assets and all liabilities to you. Alright? Which is normally we call the acquisition date. That's when we want to record the transaction. Identify acquirer, identify the date that you acquire. This is the second step based on IFRS number 3. The third step, you need, once you buy, just like I want to buy your bag, I give you money, let's say for 100 baht. You give me my bag, you give me that bag to me. So this is the asset I got, isn't it? Okay, I can identify exactly this is what I got, which is step number 3. Think about the company now. When the company decides to buy the ownership, accounting equation, asset equal to liability plus equity. When you acquire equity, it means what? You acquire both asset and liabilities. Right? You got 2 of them. You get the money, you pay. This is what you get, asset and liability. Sometimes asset and liability report on the statement of financial positions is not enough. Sometimes you buy for something else that not report. For example, just like CPR acquired the Macro. Of course, before the deal happened, they need to hire financial advisor, which is FA. FA for sell side and buyer side. FA for selling side and buyer side has to remeasure asset and liability on the statement of financial position to make sure they got a right value. What does it mean for the right value? To make sure it's fair. That's why from book value you need to bump it up to fair. Right? For example, the company that I want to acquire, asset 100, liability 20. How much is it for the equity? 80. If I want to buy this company 100%, how much should I buy? I should pay 80. Right? But before I buy, I'm gonna ask my FA first. Should I buy that 80? This is what they report. FA gonna say, hold on. Take a look at the asset first. The asset report 100, but when we take a look, well, they got the land. But the land did not revalue just yet. I need to remeasure the land first. Hold on, they got a machine. The machine will depreciate, reported book value. But after I spot, based on this condition, the machine should be lower than what they report, for example. So they need to remeasure fair value of asset and liabilities. Stick with my example. Book value say asset 100, liability 20, equity 80. After remeasures, asset bumped to 200. Okay? Liability didn't change, 20. What should be the amount that you should pay now? 200 minus by 20, which is 180. This is to be fair, right? Okay, this is my buyer side. The company who's going to sell to me, seller side, go for the FA as well. Remeasure fair value as well. All right, that's why we got different fair value now on the buyer side, on the seller side, and it's time to negotiate which one should be the optimal amount. All right. Not only the asset and liability report on the statement of financial positions. You go to visit the company and you find out, hey, they got customer list. Hey, the company quite have a good reputation. All right. Well, based on the valuation, we got 200, which is an asset. Liability is 20. Amount we should pay should be 180. But I saw something worth more than just 180. Got it? So you decide to pay 500. Okay? By this scenario, what happened? Book value 80. It's just 100 minus 20, you got 80. Fair value 180. Clear? But you pay for 500. Now, the auditor like me gonna ask you why you decide to pay for just 500. Can you tell me? Number 3, identifiable asset and liabilities at fair value too. And you told me, Ajahn, this is identifiable asset and liability, 200 and 220. I'm going to say, yes, I saw that. So it should be only 180. But why you pay 500? You're going to see something. Something that you see like, well, this company have a bright futures. This company going to grow up. This company can create potential benefit for us for about 320. That's why you pay on top to be 500. The 320 here gonna be number 4, which is goodwill. You pay higher than fair value. So by this thing happen, you got book value, you got fair value, but you got amount that you pay. Clear for that? You got 3 steps to identify. So the goodwill coming from what you cannot identify. If you can identify everything, it's going to be there as your asset, as your liabilities. it's gonna be there. But once you get everything at fair, but you pay more than fair, it's gonna be goodwill. What if I pay less than fair? You got something good but pay less. You got gain on bargaining purchase. You are good bargain. For example, my examples again. Book 80, fair 180, but you pay 150. How much gain you got? 30. Report in
gain from the bargaining
P&F. Report straight away in P&F. Goodwill report on statement of financial position. All right, it's different way to go. If you got a goodwill, it means you pay for some kind of asset, which is what? Goodwill. Is goodwill intangible? Can you see? No, I cannot see. So some people may say it's intangible. But if you're looking at financial statements, it's not intangible. Goodwill is not intangible asset. It's a non-current asset. It's a long-term asset, but it's not intangible. Keep this in mind. That's why when you're looking at consolidated financial statement, goodwill display in separate line. Not intangible, not PPE, they are goodwill. All right, hopefully you're clear when you're looking at consolidated financial statement. All right, hopefully you make it clear, everything you're going to see. All right, so by 4 steps of acquisitions like this, IFRS number 3 here apply to every deal of acquisitions. Accounting methods, you're going to have 2 methods, which is acquisition method and the pooling of interest. Pooling of interest being discarded or eliminated since 2001. When you mean by pooling of interest, it means what? You pool interest between 2 companies together. Let's say I'm a company A, you are company B. I'm going to buy you. Book value you got is 80, 120. By pooling of interest, I don't need to measure you at fair. I take all 80 with me. That's what we call pooling together. All right. If you pay more or less, it's going to adjust as a change in ownership in the equity part. So when you say this one is being eliminated since to 20 years or almost 20 years already, it's come back. But it's come back in terms of similar to pooling of interest. What's that supposed to be similar to pooling? It's a pooling anyway, but we don't want to get rid of the word pooling. Similar to pooling of interest apply for the transaction between companies that are under common control. For example, for PTT. PTT is a big one, which is the parents. They have a lot of subsidiaries. Once they say PTT A combined with PTT B, 2 companies combined together. All right? Those companies are under single management, which is PTT. So in this case, when you got merger transaction like this between 2 companies which are under common control, we go for pooling of interest method. Because similar to pooling. All right? We're not going to touch that much because you're normally going to see acquisition method. So when we talk about acquisition method, just like I told you before, when you want to acquire, you need to identify book value and identify fair value. So investment cost is going to be amount of cash that you pay to get the fair value of the asset. Back to my example, book value report at 80, fair value at 180, investment cost going to be 180, right? But if you pay more than that, you add more. Just like you pay 500, you record investment cost at 500. But you need to identify to me 180, 200 in asset, 20 is liability 320 is goodwill. Clear? You pay 500, right? Fair value of asset 200. Fair value of liability 20. Another one is what? Goodwill for 320. All right? So this is book, this is fair. When you pay at fair, you pay at this price, right? 1. But you pay more than fair, you pay 500. What that's supposed to mean? For 500 here, we break it down into two parts. First, asset 200, liability 20, goodwill 320. Combine together, you got 500. Yes. Don't look at this one, look at this. Right? For 500 you pay. What you get? You got asset for 200. Liability, 20. And goodwill for 320. Net asset is going to be what? 500. This is the amount that you just paid. So that's why investment cost 500 here. You can break it down later on. And what if you don't pay by cash, you do share swap? When you do share swap, you're gonna have some kind of expense related to issuing share. For share swap here, let's suppose when you want to issue, when you want to buy the company, you issue share for 500. 500, just like what I said. But rather than pay by cash, you issue common share for exchange. But of course, to issue share for exchange, you need to go to SCT, Stock Exchange of Thailand, pay for commission fee or whatsoever. The expense happen, you need to reduce additional paid-in capitals of the share when you issue share. Reduce fair value, for what I would say. Another direct cost, like you need to pay for consulting fee, you need to pay for legal whatsoever, be charged directly to statement of comprehensive income, treat them as an expense. Indirect cost, record as an expense as well. So basically, all kind of combination costs turn to be the expense. Now, just like what I showed you before, goodwill. Some deal happen like this. Let's suppose when I want to buy Macro, I'm a CDO. I take over Macro. I need to remeasure asset and liabilities at fair. Got it? But I pay above fair. CPO gonna have what? Goodwill from this deal. Alright? In the statement of financial positions of CPO consolidated already, you're gonna see big goodwill. Let's say a couple years later, another company take over CPO. Alright, just like you got a bigger company take over CPO. When they're looking at CPO financial statement, the CPO report the goodwill too. Got it? So if you are that company who want to take over, it's time for you to remeasure everything. So the goodwill report on CPO get rid to be 0. I don't care what you got, but what I care is the asset of CPO, liability of CPO, and also their subsidiary. It's like what? They need to remeasure everything again and record the new goodwill. That's why I tell you, goodwill on the book target form, we say like no value. Because we need to remeasure the net asset and liabilities with the new basis. So the goodwill, just like I showed you before, is the difference between investment cost and the fair value that you acquire. I want to emphasize here, investment over fair value of net asset. Not just asset, net asset. Net asset is what? Assets subtract by liabilities. Alright, that's why you need to remeasure both of them. Sometimes the book value of liability change. For example, if that company got the bond, once the bond issue, market rate is 5%, coupon rate is 3%. You issue bond with discount or premium. Market rate 5, coupon rate 3. The company issue bond with discount. 2 years later, I want to acquire this firm who got the bond. Coupon rate still 3. Market rate dropped to 2. Do you think the values of the bond change? Yes. That's why some people say, well, Ajahn, only asset change to value. I would say no. Sometimes liabilities change too. Because some liabilities vary by market, interest rate. That's why you need to remeasure both. Alright? After you remeasure both, identify what you got. Goodwill, no amortization, but you need to check for impairment. Difference between depreciation and impairment or amortization is what? Depreciation you use for PP. Amortization used for intangible asset. But the definition is you need to allocate cost across time, right? That's what the definition of depreciation and amortization. You need to allocate the cost allocation systematically. What about impairment? Impairment happens when we got indicator. For example, I normally give example like this. We have the machine, let's say 100 baht or dollars. We want to use machine for 10 years. This means what? Every year we need to depreciate by 10. 2 years later, how much is this for book value? 80. Alright? That year, the flood coming in. Nobody want to use this machine no more. The machine who come and revalue is like, well, the machine gonna be only $5. But the book value says 80. So the value should drop from 80 to 5. So it means what? We have lost, isn't it? We lost for about how much? 75. The loss called here we call loss from impairment, not depreciation. Alright, so depreciation is different from impairment in this way. Depreciation created by systematically system. In system, you do by straight line whatsoever. But impairment, when you got indicator, is banned right away. Okay? Well, so that's why for goodwill, no amortization, but have impairment test. This is how we calculate the goodwill. I showed you before. Compare between 1 and 2. Just like I give you example. Look at the 2 first. 2 is what? Fair value of net asset. Get back to my example. Book 80. Fair 180. This is 180 down here. Alright? 180 is asset 200, liability 20. This is 180 fair value. Amount you pay is right here. Number 1. You pay for 500. which is 1A. 500 is 1A. This is we call consideration transfer. That's a technical term. This is the amount that you transfer to the other one. So you pay for 500, it's going to be 1A. What you get? You get asset, net asset worth 180. 1 over 2, 500 more than 180. How much is this for the goodwill? 320. All right? Okay? Well, what if I don't pay for 100%? I pay for about 80%. I buy only 80% of their ownership. They have 100 shares, but I want to buy only 80 shares. Another 20 shares we call NCI, non-controlling interest. All right, this is what we call that part. Try again. The common stock report right now is 100 shares. I want to buy only 80 shares. So it means I got ownership for 80%. All right. Another 20 shares I didn't buy because I don't want to hold that much. The 20 shares that I didn't buy, we call that part as non-controlling part. Back then we call minority part. But now it's not going to be minority because sometimes it's happened like this. They have 100 shares. I buy 40 shares. How many percent I got? 40. 40. Another 60, I didn't buy. But it belongs to small investor or individual investor. All right? And it is hard for them to gather together and try to oppose my vote. So, in the annual general meeting, AGM of the shareholders, I walked there, I showed up, I raised my hand, I got 40% vote. Clear? The other, they come, but they come not a lot. They are non-controlling part. So in this case, what happened? I have de facto control. DEFACTO. De facto control. I owe majority, not really majority, sorry, only 40%. But the rest, 60%, they still cannot control because they are individual investor, institutional investor, like that. So I do have control. They are non-control. Clear? All right? That's why we call NCI. I'm going to show you later what NCI play roles here. Okay. Goodwill controversy, don't need to touch no more like that. All right. I'll show. Let's move to this example. So it's going to be a lot clearer for you. Let's go to session 3. Investment in subsidiary here first.
ถือว่าเร็วมากสำหรับคนที่ไม่มีพื้นฐานเลยโดยเขาโปรว่า
So let's may help you.
หลังไม่ทัน
Did you see this one? This example? Go to in your slide in the session number 3. Move. Go further. No, this one. On the slide still. On here. Yes. Everybody got it? Go ahead.
เราบวกค่าอะไรบ้างให้ตอนหนึ่งไปแล้วนี่
All right. Look at this example. You guys got this? Implementations. Move on. Too far. got this? Looking at the screen and on your works as well. Here, this is what I'm going to show you what's going on when we calculate goodwill centers. All right? Take a look on the red alphabet. The company report like this. Current asset, book value, BV is the book value is 25. Non-current asset is 40. Liability is 25. If you calculate the book value of equity, how much is it? 40. Right? Asset 25, non-current, plus non-current, which is 40. This is the total asset, 65. Liability, 25. So the net asset turned to be 40, which is the equity part. Clear? All right. Now look at the right side. The right side here is fair value. Fair value of that particular asset and liabilities. When I ask my FA come to remeasure this firm, this is what they got. Current asset, book say 25, fair say 35. That could be like inventory whatsoever that the value is high up. But normally it's normally go down. Non-current asset 40 turn to be 55. Liability remeasure again. What you got? 30. And I found out when I visit your company now are in process to ask for the patent from the government. So if I acquire your firm, I'm gonna get this patent as my asset as well. So what that's supposed to mean in this case is mean what? Some kind of asset is missing on the financial statement, right? But once you do the deal, you finish the deal, you're gonna get that too. So it's mean what? Turn to the next page. When we calculate the goodwill in this case, before we go there, look at this first. P acquired 80% of S and P pay for 65. So it's mean what? Based on AFS number 3, first identify acquirer. Who buy? P. Buy on what day? Number 2, January the 1st. That's 2. Right? Consideration transfer is how much? 65. What you get? Identifiable asset. Current asset, how much you get? 35 at fair. Non-current, 55 at fair. What else asset you got? Patent. You got patent at 10. So it's like you got 3 kind of asset. Right? You got 35, 55, and 10. Liability you got at what amount? 30. So it means in the next page, what you got? Consideration transfer, 65. You pay 65 for how many percent?
80.
80%. You got to find out this guy. How much is it for NCI? So it means what? NCI is another 20%. Alright? 20% of what? NCI got the right on net asset. So this is the number of net asset. Current, non-current, patent, liabilities. Net asset, NCI own for 20%. This is what you got for 14. Clear? So 65 plus 14, this is 80%, this is 20%. So the total 100% is going to be 79. Let's assume if you want to buy the whole group for 100%, rather buy at 65, you need to buy at 79. Compared to what you got, which is fair value asset, you got 70. Difference between 179, 279 gonna be goodwill. This is how we measure. based on IFRS number 3. First, identify acquirer. Who acquired? P. What day? They acquired January the 1st. Alright? Number 3, what you got? This is what I got. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 40 current asset, non-current asset, patent, and liabilities. This is 100%, right? But you buy only 80%. You're gonna find the rest. The rest is what for 14. So compare 100% to another 100%. 100 and 100, this is a goodwill. This is how we measure goodwill. Alright? In real life, gonna be the other way around. Okay? This is based on accounting standard. In real life, it's gonna be the other way around. What that's supposed to mean? When FA is coming in, they're gonna measure this 70 for sure. They're gonna ask the person who's gonna buy, how much you gonna buy? They say you wanna buy 80%. Well, how much should I pay? I'm gonna ask my FA. The FA is gonna say, well, do you think the company is gonna grow up? Do you think gonna be like a lot of synergy after you buy the company? FA gonna do forecasting of expected cash flow in the future and discount it back to represent the growth. The growth here gonna be number 9. It's gonna be 9. And then after they got 9, they put it in the amount that you should pay. That's why they do all the calculation. Finally, they come up with the number at 65. Like that. When they got the deal for real, they're gonna be the other way around, like this. Because you don't know exactly how much you're going to buy until you find out this is what I'm going to buy. I want to buy the asset, I want to buy liability. We need to do everything at fair. Fine. Alright? What next? Well, after I want to buy this, I think the company gonna go up, gonna grow further. So we should calculate goodwill for that. What goodwill stands for is the potential benefit in the future or potential profit in the future. FA gonna forecast from the financial statement of the acquirer to like maybe 10 years whatsoever, discount it back and come up with the growth. The growth number here is the goodwill, and then they put on top of the fair value. Finally, you got the money that you have to pay. Just like that. They just do the other way around. Alright? That's when they find the deal. Okay? By doing like this, what happened? If you calculate the goodwill, when you do consolidation, what that's supposed to mean? You got to have the financial statement of the parents, the financial statement of subsidiary, put all together. We need to add line by line. What that's supposed to mean, line by line. Same asset, add together. Same liability, add together. And report what you want to see. Alright? For example, my asset is 10. The company that I buy, asset is 20. Put all together, we should have 30 in my consolidated financial statement. Liability, I got 5, they got 15. Put all together, I should have 20 in my consolidated financial statement. That's what we should see. Alright? So if you think, well, if I buy greater than what they report, what we should do, we're going to report goodwill in consolidation too. Alright? So if you turn to the next page, this is the financial statement of parent. This is the financial statement of subsidiary. Okay, I'll go with the parent first. Parents, asset 40. Investment in subsidiary, this is my asset too, right? Because when I pay for them, I debit investment, I credit cash to them, right? Actually to the owners. for 65.
อืม
This is amount I pay based on the example. Non-current asset from my company, which is parent, is 60.
อืม
Clear?
อืม
So the total asset I got is 165. In terms of liability, I got 45 as my liabilities. Common stock here, 100 for myself.
อืม
Retained earning, 20.
อืม
Asset equal to liability plus equity. Same, right?
อืม
Okay. Now, talk to the subsidiary. Subsidiary is what they got. 25 current.
เขาให้มา
Check at the slide before. Is that correct? The book value. The book value say we have current asset at 25.
อืม
Non-current at 40. Liability as 25. This is the equity part. Equity of subsidiary, they got common stock at 10, retaining at 30.
อืม
Asset 65 equal to liability 25 plus equity. Got it?
อืม
Now you can guess what you want to see in here. You on your own. You can do by yourself now. I'll give you solution later. What you gonna see, what you expect to see in the financial statement. Consolidation.
อืม ก็เอาอันนี้ต้องเครดิต investment ออกใช่ปะแล้วก็มาเดบิต เพราะว่าจะไอ้นี่ก็คือตัวนี้ถ้าตัดออกก็จะได้เป็นรวมกันใครให้เดา เราก็จะได้ 165 เหมือนเดิมอันนี้ก็จะได้ 165 เหมือนเดิม เพราะเรามี investment in S ไปแล้วใช่ไหมแล้วเพราะว่า investment in S มันจะต้องการมาเป็น asset ใน S ใช่ ก็คือแตกออกมาเป็นรายการแล้ว เพราะว่า investment in S ตอนแรก มันเป็นก้อนรวมของ S ทีนี้เราก็แตกออกมาแค่นี้ใช่ปะเดาเอา
So what you expect to see in consolidated financial statements is going to be like this. First, current asset.
Mm-hmm.
This is your asset. This is subsidiary asset, right? You should add together, isn't it? But if you remember, we pay at fair, right? So the amount of asset here should be 35, right? Because the fair value say it should be 35. So what I'm going to see in the consolidation should be what? 40 plus 35, you're gonna get 75. Right here. Write down this speaker. Alright. Non-current asset. 60 is mine. 40 is there. Is them. But fair value is what?
55.
55. So the amount of non-current asset should be reported in the
115.
financial statement will be 115. What else I pay for? I pay for the patent. The patent was for how much?
10.
10. What else I pay for? I pay for goodwill, right? Because we already calculate right here. This is what I pay for. I pay for this, pay for this, pay for this, pay for this. And I also pay for this, isn't it? I pay for them already. So what I should see on my financial statement in terms of a group company, asset, non-current asset, patent, goodwill, and now. What about investment here? Should we report right here? The answer is no. It should be 0. Why? Because this 65 represent what? Represent my share in the asset and liabilities of subsidiary. After I got the asset and I got liability of subsidiary, this investment is redundant. Because I got this already in this line. So this should be 0. Alright, so now turn to liabilities. 45, what about liabilities here? Fair value 35, right? Or 30? 30. So the amount liability report here should be 75 too. Common stock is my own. Retained earnings, yes. Let's add the number. 75 plus 115, you got 190, plus 10 plus 9, you got 209. You hold this for 80%. Look, liability plus equity, you got only 195. So you miss one person. Who's that? NCI. NCI is what? Is the share of the ownership in here. Alright? How much is it for NCI? We just calculated before. 14, right? They got a share on net asset. But net asset at fair. We just calculate from here. So basically you just plug it in. 14. Finally you got 2. Oh no. Asset equal to liability plus equity. Clear for that? Try again. You got investment, 65. This investment represents share of net asset of subsidiary. Alright? When they represent net asset of subsidiary, first, once you do consolidation, they take asset in, liability in. Parents report at book,
asset liability of subsidiary report should be at fair. So you add fair value of net asset into the book value of the parent. This is what you got: 75, 75, 115, and 10. You calculate from slide number 17, right? You got it, son here. Well, but we pay 65, we pay extra. We pay extra for what? You calculate from here already. Consideration transfer 65 plus, this is 80%. This is another 20%. That's why you got 100%. You pay 65 for 80% of the share. Another 20% that you don't buy is worth for 14. So altogether, it should be about 79. But what you get, which is number 2, remember, compare 1/2. Here, compare 1/2. Sum of consideration transfer in NCI compared to the value of net asset, which is measured at fair value. What you get, you got goodwill. Once you got goodwill here, it should be reported on your consolidated financial statement. That's why you need to report goodwill. You're done with the asset side. Now, liability side. 75, 100 is our common stock. 20 is my retained earning. But we still got 1% left. The reason why we need to show this guy is what? How much percentage you hold? 80. But you take asset at 100%. 100%. 100%. So you take 100%. You hold only 80. So another 20 belong to NCI. That's why you need to show this guy on here. So finally, you can do consolidation. This is to simplify your life. But in the real world, it's not going to be easy like this, trust me. I used to do it before when I was an auditor. Right? I used to do like 40 subsidiary. It's fine. It's fine. Take me 2 days to get it done. We have like working paper along like this. I'm an auditor, I have to review the work. For accounting manager who working on consolidation, take me 2 days to finish all the review things. What they do, how they do consolidation for 40 company, line up like that. All right. This is the way we display. Okay. You don't need to mess with my mechanic thing here. I'm not going to teach you. Otherwise, you're going to die. They did this credit, that breakdown was. I don't want to teach you like that. I want to train you to be like, this is what you expect to see on the consolidated financial statement. I want to see what? Asset, book value of myself with fair value of my subsidiary, 100%. Liability, myself, book value, fair value of asset, liability, 100%. But I didn't own 100%, so I need to show this guy for you, NCI. Before the break, let's do the other way. Let's take a look right here. Same questions, same example, 80%, pay 65, fair value 15. Now I gave you straight away, not 14, right? Previous slide, they have fair value of NCI at 14 because they calculate based on the net asset, fair value of net asset. But in this case, fair value of the share that you didn't buy is right here. How can I find it? Think about the stock market. The company are listed.
listed in the stock market. The market share is right there on the list on the stock market. So I just like multiply price per share with the number of share that I didn't buy. That's why you got fair value of the share that you didn't buy. Very easy to find out if the company, the target company is listed. Alright, so what happened? Everything is the same. 35, 55, 30, and 10, which is fair value. Book value is the same. Turn to next page. Everything is the same. Now, fill in the blank for me. What do you expect to see?
เปลี่ยนแค่ goodwill ลดลงต้องดูแบบนี้ goodwill เพิ่มขึ้นเพราะว่าอันนี้เพิ่มขึ้น value เพราะว่า fair value ของตรงเพิ่มขึ้น goodwill เพิ่มขึ้นถ้านี้มันเราจะหา goodwill ได้จากการเอา consideration transfer เราบวกกับ NCI ที่เหลือใช่ไหมทีนี้พอ NCI เราเปลี่ยนเป็น14เป็น15เราก็จะได้ถอดทอดมันเป็น80แต่ fair value asset มันเท่าเดิมคือ70แล้ว goodwill ก็เลยกลายเป็น10อันนี้เป็น15
You want to see for 75, right? 0 and 10.
and
75, 100, 20. And this is what? Non-controlling here,
15
15. Right? So you got 2 10 here. So this is going to be
10
10. So what's the difference between two examples? What's this difference? Number 2. Why? Okay, let me replicate this thing for you. Consideration transfer 65. Fair value of NCI, how much is it? 15. 80%, 20%. What you got? 80. Fair value of net asset, how much is it? Here, 70. So goodwill turn to be 10. Based on the calculation. Right? Consideration transfer 65, you pay 80%, you pay for 65. Fair value of NCI for 15, this is what you pay. Sorry, this is what you don't pay. This is non-controlling part. So add them together for 100%. This is 80. Fair value of net asset from the calculation 35 plus 55 plus 30 minus 30 plus 10 plus 10 minus 30. That's why you got goodwill at 10. Based on this calculation, this is what you expect to see on consolidated financial statement. So I use this number and put it in. Fair already, 10 is right here, I'm done. 75, 20, and 15, done. So the goodwill is different because of what? Of the fair value of NCI. If you measure in different weight, you got different numbers. Alright? I'm going to stop right here for now. Let's you have the weight. When we come back, we're going to move on. Alright?